welcome back to Into the Word, your weekly bite-sized dose of Bible with me, Pastor Jonty and Rev Ness.
Hi.
How are things?
I'm excited about this one.
Last one of the year.
I know. It's really exciting.
We've reached Advent week 4.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And we've sort of done it a little bit differently, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because we haven't done the traditional passages that Advent rolls through with hope and peace and joy and love. The first 2 we did, but the last 2 weeks we've gone straight into the narrative last week, and this week the narrative of the birth of Jesus. And this week we're going to do the 3 wise men, which I love. I just think from a staging perspective, it's the best. Bring on the camels. Who doesn't love a camel? You know, and the whole gifts that they bring and their costuming. It's the pinnacle for me when the dudes rock into the scene. So give it to us, Jonty.
Alrighty. So last week we were in Luke. This week we're in Matthew chapter 2. The Magi visit the Messiah. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." He's got his fingers crossed behind his back.
Yeah, it's a bit of BS.
After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Oh, it's a good one, isn't it?
I love this story.
Tell me, what are your thoughts?
I mean, right at the end there, this idea that like being visited by something in a dream to be warned, because can't really tell whether they know about Herod's ulterior motives here. Because if you read on, there's an incredible children's book, like picture book, called Jesus Was a Refugee, which is about what comes next when Herod goes in search of this Messiah.
That's right.
And Mary and Joseph and Jesus have to they're homeless and on the run, and they're refugees for a number of a long period of time. Whether or not the Magi are aware of this or not, we're not quite sure. All we know is that they know the prophecy, and they've heard about this star, and they're following the star, and they want to go and worship the Messiah.
And they've been prompted by an image or warned in a dream. So we don't know what that dream looks like. You know, I've seen all sorts of depictions of the dream.
Yeah.
Was it Gabriel?
Could have been Gabriel again.
Yeah.
He rocks up a fair bit.
Yeah,
in these early
he's
chapters.
got this thread through. Yeah. He's the same kind of heavenly messenger, isn't he, throughout the whole thread of this Jesus being born story, conception to birth.
Because there's the line in, I think it's in, the last Harry Potter, where Harry's like, "Is this all happening in my head?" And Dumbledore says, "Oh, of course it is. But why does that make it less real?"
Oh, interesting.
Or something to that effect. And I'm, as a book person, someone that loves stories, the idea of dreams affecting the real world, the quote unquote real world, there's something about it that there's mystery there and power, and I find it fascinating and really compelling.
Yeah, I do too.
So this idea that because it doesn't happen before they reach Jesus. They've found the Messiah, they've brought the gifts, they've worshipped, they go to sleep.
But Herod has said, "But by the way, boys, when you find him, let me know." And because, brothers, I just want to go and shower him with gifts also. We know that that's not the truth.
Because he sees this as a threat.
Total.
100%.
Yeah, to his kingdom.
Not only is this someone saying that like, oh, there's another potential ruler, but there's another potential ruler with the power of prophecy behind them. Whether or not, from Herod's perspective, he believes the prophecy to be true, to him that doesn't matter, because there are enough people that do believe the prophecy that this person is going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's right. So I will eradicate the problem.
That's right.
Incredible. Just incredible. Of which he goes and does anyway.
Where the three wise men, all we get is that they're from the east, which, depending on who you ask, could mean that they were from like modern day Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Sometimes people think Ethiopia or Persia or even India. So it's a bit vague.
But they've travelled.
But they've travelled either way.
Yeah.
They've travelled a long way to be there. Yeah.
And they've watched a star in the northern hemisphere as they've travelled. Like that celestial starage must have been such an epiphany for them to then pack up a caravan full of what they need to travel that kind of distance, you know, Iraq to Bethlehem.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
They would have had to have days and days of food and supplies and all the bits, you know. And, you know, they say it's 3. We don't necessarily know it was 3 people.
Because they were the 3 gifts.
Yeah, that's right. It was actually 3 gifts, but could have been hundreds of people in this travelling caravan of people, right?
And they're academics.
Yeah.
And that's why the star is significant, because most likely they were astrologers.
Yes.
So it's not like they've just kind of looked up and gone, oh, there's a star. They studied the sky.
Right.
And so a new star is notable to them because they know the map of the stars deeply.
Yes, and for one to just appear randomly out of prophetic, which they would have already known, then I'm thinking this is just an incredible moment that they had to follow. And these guys, saying they were academic astrologers, they would have been employed by kings to advise on when to plant seed, when to harvest, because they knew the seasons, didn't they?
Cycles,
they watched the moon, they watched the whole thing. They were seen to be quite mystic. You know, it's such a beautiful story. And so they come.
Yeah. Tell me about the 3 gifts, Ness, because we've got these 3 gifts.
Yep.
They arrive.
Yep.
It says they fall to their knees and they worship.
Yes.
From memory. On coming to the house, they saw the child with Mother Mary. They bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Is that where the song goes, fall on your knees?
I hadn't thought of that.
Is that
possibly.
is that moment?
Could be.
Because that's one of the Christmas carols we sing, isn't it?
It's actually probably my favourite one.
What one is it?
Oh Holy Night.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, maybe it's just
it could be
the birth of Jesus.
But I think it
fall on your
also
knees.
could be, a lot of it is, the imagery is from the last week with the shepherds in the field with the angels.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I hadn't made that connection. That's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I just immediately thought of it when you said, because the scripture does say they bowed down and
Worship.
knelt at the foot of the king.
And like we talked about last week, this wasn't in an open air
No.
nativity scene.
No.
This is in like a dingy back room that's almost a cave.
Yeah.
With a like stone trough with animals.
Yeah.
Probably trying to get around Jesus to the water. 'Cause
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
oh, where's all the water gone? There's a kid in here instead. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a like, well, it's beautiful in its own way, but it's not a traditionally like aesthetically pleasing situation in the same way that the nativity scenes make it out to
No,
be.
we make it pretty.
It's dirty. Like they probably have to
smelly.
like lift their clothes up to not get filth all over them when they kneel down to worship. Like it's a grimy, dark setting.
Yeah, it's not Hollywood, is it? By any
That's right,
means.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there are 3 gifts. So the gold represents his Jesus' royalty, his kingship.
Yeah.
The frankincense represents the
deity is how it's
deity, they say.
described, yeah.
And frankincense we know is an incense.
Yeah, it gets used today in churches.
Yeah, Anglicans, Catholics, they love to burn it in church. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful smell. That's my favourite out of frankincense and myrrh. Myrrh has an edgier smell, but that myrrh is the balm that they use to anoint bodies when they die. They were using that, and it's symbolic of Jesus' kingship, his deity, and the fact that he will die for creation.
Yeah.
It's powerful, isn't it?
I always think of...
And buckets of the stuff, like tons of it, and it would have been really expensive.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's really important to note, that they're not just giving him a little vial.
Yeah.
There was buckets of the stuff. And I remember reading somewhere, Jonty, that there was a query as to did Joseph and Mary sell some of the gold or some of the other elements to actually fund their time to escape and, to go into Egypt and set up life over there.
Quite probably.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. Or I wonder if any of that was left over to actually fund some of his ministry.
Yeah.
30-odd years later. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
I just made that up.
I always think of as well in Life of Brian when the wise men go to Brian's place instead of Jesus' place by accident, and Brian's mum says, "Oh, thanks so much for the gold and the frankincense. Don't worry about the myrrh next time, though."
I used to, when I was doing school ministry, I used to take in little vials of the essential oil of frankincense and myrrh, and I'd pass it around the room. I'd always start with the frankincense, and they'd go, "Oh, this is beautiful." I'd take in gold chocolate money, show them that they thought that was yummy, and smell the frankincense. "Oh, this is beautiful." And then I'd pass the myrrh around, and they were just pegging their noses, and they thought it was disgusting. And not a fan of that? No, Rev. It's not the greatest smell. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, well, I think part of what I love about this story, and we think about this as like, one of the core Advent stories, it's really unresolved tension. The next passage is titled "The Escape to Egypt."
Yeah,
Herod is on their tails.
Yep.
The wise men, the Magi, get a dream in the night that they know not to go back the way they came because Herod's on the way. And if they bump into Herod's going to be like, "Where's that kid?" And if they don't tell him, he's probably going to kill them.
Correct.
And then, like you say, Mary and Joseph use probably some of the gold that they were gifted to fund their escape, basically, and they're refugees. They're on the run and setting up a life in a foreign land in Egypt. And when we think about the Christmas story being this like warm, comfortable thing, in Matthew's account at least, it kind of isn't.
It's not.
And when we think about our own context, like we like to think of Christmas as this time where it's really warm and comfortable and cuddly, and like when in Australia here in summer it's hot and sweaty and gross, but like it's almost like a little island of safety with chaos and tension and stress on either side. I don't know. I think I like that this story doesn't pretend that everything in the world is okay.
Yeah, that's right. Because it does say, like you Julie pointed out, Jonty, if you continue reading, it says an angel appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up."
Yeah.
And he said, "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child and to kill him." Can you imagine Joseph and Mary doing the big... They've just had the kid.
Yeah.
They're away from their town. They're away from all the people that they love. Mary's breastfeeding. There's her parts are sore and she's got to do a donkey trip to Egypt, mate, with a brand new kid.
Yeah.
It's like dodgy.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Having had a kid, I had a kid in a hospital, and I had medical people around me and all the help in the world, and air-conditioned home and beautiful lounge and all the food and anything I needed around me, and my beautiful church helping us in those early days. Mary and Joseph had a rough ride, mate. There was nothing warm and fuzzy about what they experienced at all,
Yeah. And I think what I take out of that is like God didn't wait for the quote unquote perfect time to send Jesus, in the same way that God doesn't wait for the quote unquote perfect time to move in our lives today.
Yeah,
and Christmas being the pinnacle that we all kind of, from a calendar perspective, it's kind of the apex point at the end of the year.
Yep.
we run around trying to make Christmas perfect for everyone.
Yeah.
I do, at least. My family does, and I
We
know
all do.
lots of families do.
Yep.
God, Jesus incarnated regardless.
Yeah.
And God wants to work in our lives, and the hole in our hearts that Jesus is there to fill. We don't need everything to be in place before we accept that. And this story to me communicates that perfectly. It's just chaos. It's like that Martin Scorsese film Silence. Like there's people running around in the night evading people, and
Yep.
like murder plots and dreams speaking to people, and despite the chaos, despite the murder, despite the violence, despite the tension, despite the I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, that's where Jesus comes to earth.
100%. Yep.
Which I love.
I love it too, in the shitstorm of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. God is in the middle of it, in that manger, mate.
Yeah.
The cow shit, the pig shit, all of it around you.
In the dark.
In the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is the light. And he is the light. If this Christmas is a time where, and for many people, Christmas is not a beautiful, happy time. It can be very disruptive, emotionally charged, and isolating time for many people for all different reasons. And if you are one of those people, just know that Christ is your light, and Christ is there for you, and just plug into the source, because you will get great comfort, and God will show up for you.
Yeah.
Fall on your knees. What happens next? Hear the angels singing, rejoicing, and maybe you could play us out.
Sure. This, like you say, this is our last one of the year here on Into the Word. If you want more Christmassy stuff, on Christmas Eve, our Christmas episode of Filthy Hope will be coming out. A portion of which will be about what Blue Christmas is. So,
we're doing a bit of a flip this year.
Yeah, which kind of related to what we were just talking about there at the end of this episode. If that's something you want to explore more of, come and listen to that episode. But this is our first year of doing this particular show, Into the Word. I think we started just after Easter in April of this year. We've had a blast doing it. I think this will be like episode 30-something, 31, I think. So we're super grateful for you guys for listening and watching to us over the year. This was a little side venture that we thought we'd have a crack at, and it's been going really well.
Yeah, thanks for being our friends.
Yeah, that's right. So this will be our last one for the year. We'll be back in February at some point with more Into the Word. If you miss us, come and listen to Filthy Hope. They'll still be coming out every week.
Amazing. Thanks, Jonty.
Have a very, very, very Merry Christmas. Be good to each other. Be loving. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, plug into the source.
That's right.
That's the way.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.